let's get this party started. No,
Is it from something?
I think it's from Shark Tale.
Oh my gosh, I love that movie.
Will Smith is a fish.
Yeah, and so was Angelina Jolie.
Yeah,
and she was like the baddest fish ever.
But he like comes in to his penthouse and he's like, let's get this party started, and then it's like, pfft.
All I remember is him being like, Angie.
That's a weird movie.
It's so great. And that the shark was vegetarian and his like whole family was like, what?
Oh, I forgot about that. That was Jack Black's character.
Was that Jack Black?
The shark?
Yeah.
Lenny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
What a great movie. We should watch that sometime. I literally have the DVD.
It's low-key kind of bad.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. The faces.
Who was the like
Martin Scorsese is in that movie.
the pufferfish, right?
Yeah. Martin Scorsese, the film director of high critical acclaim.
Yeah.
Acted as a pufferfish.
It's a beautiful movie.
I would love to read up on why that was. Like why did he have to do that role? Like who held him at gunpoint and said, I've got this dirt on you. We need you to be in this Shark Tale
Or
movie.
maybe he was like, what's the most ridiculous thing I could do? And then was like, I'll be in Shark Tale. Why not? What do I have to lose?
Martin Scorsese wouldn't do that, though.
How do you know? You don't know Martin?
You
don't know Marty?
Okay, Marty.
Like I do.
Marty has... He's made headlines in the last few years because he said he did not consider the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be cinema. And people took a lot of issue with that. Mm-hmm. Because to him, it's like popcorn. It's like a roller coaster, which, I mean, it is. Mm-hmm. I would still say it's like cinema. Mm-hmm. But he's like not the kind of guy that's going to look at this popcorn fare and say, this is what movies are.
Are you talking about Shark Tale? In terms of Shark Tale?
Well, I'm talking about his feelings towards the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I'm applying that thinking to him being an actor in this Shark Tale movie and wondering, like, he just, based on those comments, he wouldn't do that.
But it's still like, I'm sure everyone who went into Shark Tale was not like, this is going to be a great movie. Like, they probably were just like, this is something fun for the kids, you know? And so, just because you think, like, very critically about movies doesn't mean you can't do dumb stuff for the sake of, like, fun, you know?
I've just never seen Martin Scorsese act in anything, let alone a animated Shark Tale movie. Yeah,
maybe he just
with like a tie-in video game and everything.
He felt that he had to do it.
There was probably some kind of deal between him and some studio, and they said, "We need you to do this." I mean, it's DreamWorks, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway. There's your cold open.
Our takes on Shark Tale.
Yeah. Remember Shark Tale?
Great. I love it.
Good stuff.
I'm very embarrassed to say that I have the DVD. Like, it's so random.
I probably ordered the Netflix DVD at one point, you know? Anyway, welcome back to the Content Swap podcast. Keep in mind, this is a podcast. If you are here to expecting something that's not a podcast, well, you're wrong, because this is a podcast.
Oh my gosh!
So now you know. Anyway, what's new this week? What's going on?
Not much. Getting back into the routine of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wearing my Suspicious sweatshirt that you got me for Christmas.
I did.
Shout outs to Bailey Sarian and her amazing 2 podcast, Dark History and Murder, Mystery, and Makeup.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called.
This is not a sponsored ad. It's just
we just love her.
It's just support.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing a God of War Ragnarok t-shirt that I bought. Is this a t-shirt? It's a long sleeve.
It's really soft.
That I bought for myself.
It's really nice quality.
So shouts out to Santa Monica Studio for making a great game. A game so good that I would buy a t-shirt with a symbol on it from that game. I bought 3 actually.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anything new with you?
Just been working. I finished the new Pokemon game. Last episode, I did say that I was planning on finishing Pokemon Scarlet in time for the new Fire Emblem game, which came out yesterday, the day that we were recording, as of the day that we were recording this. And I started the new Fire Emblem game. I played about 45 minutes, did the prologue, and I'm very excited to play some more of it, either tonight or tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sounded very cheesy.
Oh, yeah. Super cringy.
What was that thing I kept repeating?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
There was like a specific line that
like
just
the
kept
celestial dragon.
I don't know. It was something like, it was like now we have to go or something like that. Like it was like something like that, and I kept repeating it.
They said it a few times. Yeah. The last Fire Emblem game had a really, really, like, one of the best written stories of that year, I think. And it was very impressive all around, because there was 3 different ways that you could experience the stories, and the story would branch into 3 different timelines of different ways that these events could go down from 3 different perspectives. And, if you play one story, you might have to kill your friends from a different story. So that was pretty crazy. So very strong in the narrative department. But then this one, it's like all of the reviews are saying the story kind of sucks. It's very cheesy. I mean, you look at the characters and their dialogue, and you're just like, oh, what is this? But the combat, I guess, like JRPG chess gameplay that Fire Emblem is known for, they've really refined that and gotten that right in this game. So, I mean, that's really why you play the game. I've played lots of Fire Emblem games where the story was not, the thing that brought me to the game. So this is going to be no different than other experiences I've had with Fire Emblem games. But it might not end up becoming my favorite Fire Emblem game because it's not giving me the whole package. But if it leans into, what makes the game fun to play in the first place, that works for me.
Gotcha.
Anyway, it's my little tangent about the new Fire Emblem. Hit me up if you ever want to hear my other takes on the Fire Emblem franchise. Anyway, yeah, so very excited to be playing that. And what did we watch this week? We finished watching Arcane this week.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me season 2.
So you thought it was so good?
Oh, I loved it.
I thought it was good too. There was just so much hype around it. I didn't even know how I could. The expectations got so high, but I still kind of kept my personal expectations so low. And I don't know. I guess because I was like, I'll keep my expectations low, despite the hype being so high.
Yeah. Then
I watched it, and it wasn't until I think like the beginning of the 8th episode of 9 episodes where I was like, oh, I really dig this.
Really?
But I still I don't think anything could have really lived up to the amount of hype that was attached to it.
I mean, so many people had it was very hyped up, but I guess coming from me where I don't play video games like that, and I was like a video game based cartoon, I don't really want to watch this. But so that was just that was the bar. Was I'm not going to enjoy this. And yeah. I mean, after episode 2, I was like, oh, I'm so interested in these characters. I think it wasn't until, I think while they were kids, it was I was just eh. And then once they got older,
yeah,
then I was like, okay, I'm here for this. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really play League of Legends. I don't have any interest in playing League of Legends. No offense to anybody that plays League of Legends. It seems like a great game. It's just not my cup of tea. But great show. But yeah, I don't know. I guess a part of me was expecting more. But gotcha. I think it was still really good. Season 2 comes rolling around. Yeah,
watch it. The animation's really cool. It's so different.
I think the art style is really cool. Or the way that things are drawn. The style in which it's drawn is really cool. The animation is fine. The actual movement and everything is fine. There are some sequences that are whoa, where the art style will be really, it'll just do something totally unique, and I thought that was really cool. But I didn't like the actual. I'm not a huge fan of the actual art style of League of Legends. The that kind of like magic steampunk thing that they're going for. Like I
like it.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not as big of a fan of that aesthetic.
Yeah.
But I like the way that like I said, I like the way that things are drawn. I like the way that things in the show look.
Yeah.
But it's like the objects themselves, like the what they're comprised of and all of that. I guess I wasn't so much into. I don't know.
Interesting.
Like Jinx's whole aesthetic with her graffiti and all that. Sorry for those who came for Step Up and Power Rangers. We're talking about Arcane for a second.
Right now.
But that aesthetic, it's just like not.
Really, I love.
I'm just like, ugh.
It gives me
not really, just not into it.
I feel like her character gives me very like Harley Quinn vibes.
Right.
And so I don't know. I like that kind of. I love the whole graffiti thing, and I felt like anytime like, because that's her like staple of like when she's been somewhere and has done something, you see all her graffiti, and I like that. That's her like staple. Like you see like the little bombs that she makes, and they have like little, and I feel like there's like a childlikeness to it, which is like the point. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool, and I thought it just like added to her character.
Yeah, see, like I don't disagree. It's just not my.
Yeah,
it's just not what I'm into.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I liked her pigtail braids, like whenever she would walk, and like the way they would just like swing behind her. I don't know. I did really
I did kind of like that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we're completely off the rails right now. Yeah. So what are we here to talk about?
I mean, sometimes it's okay to talk about what we're doing in the moment. We don't really get to chat about what we're engaging with currently.
Yeah. I think we're like 12 minutes into.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm sure these movies do not take much talking time.
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot of notes on Step Up 2.
You did write a lot of notes. Oh my gosh. Was there even enough to
It's a
write?
short movie. It's a really short movie, so I don't know where I got all this from, but I had a lot to say.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So this week I was assigned a movie called Step Up 2: The Streets.
The Streets.
Now, I've seen the first Step Up, and this movie also does, its subtitle is The Streets, and in this movie there is a dance competition called The Streets. However, with the name of the movie being Step Up 2: The Streets, is it meant to be just Step Up 2: the Streets, or is it like Step Up to the Streets?
Sorry, I was not expecting that question. Like, what?
What do you think? Are they stepping up to the streets?
I mean, I guess you could interpret it both ways. Because I do think, because like the purpose of the end is she's like,
well, we don't need to get into the plot. Yeah, I'm just wondering, like.
Yeah, I mean, without diving into everything.
Like, for the people that named the movie, do you think part of their intention was also to be like, step up to the streets?
I don't think that was maybe their first thought.
All right.
I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong.
Like Too Fast, Too Furious,
Dumb. Sorry.
They're throwing twos in there because it's the second movie, but also they're saying like they are too fast and they are too furious.
But that's like, it's written that way. This is literally written Step Up, the Streets. Like, this is Step Up to the street version.
Yeah.
Well,
but also like Furious 7. You could say, well, this is the 7th Fast and Furious movie, but also there are 7 furious people.
Are there?
And there's probably more than that.
I don't know, babe. That's a question for, I don't know, the creators.
Like the Fate of the Furious, they called it that.
Okay.
Because it was F8, Fate, the Fate of the Furious.
Literally, I've seen Tokyo Drift. I've only seen half of Tokyo Drift like 10 times.
All right.
And so these movies are ridiculous.
Anyway, so the jury's still out on whether they are stepping up to the streets or not, but let me explain what this movie's about. So the movie really opens up where we're in an undisclosed city. Actually, do we know which city this is?
It's
Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland. It really just starts out with there is a dance crew or no, before I even get into that, there are people on a subway, and one guy gets onto the subway and he starts acting all weird. But then he's acting weird because, boom, he's dancing. He's wearing, like, like, he puts a mask on and he turns around and some people are like, whoa, like, this guy just put a mask on. Like, that's kind of...
That would be terrifying.
That would be a terrifying thing to happen on the subway. But then he starts dancing. And then, like, other people on that same subway car start dancing. And then
it's like a flash mob.
Yeah, it's like a flash mob where they're put masks on. And at one point, like, one of them tries to, like, rob this woman. But turns out, nope, that woman is also a dancer. And that was just played for show. Like, oh, well, this woman being robbed. Nope, just kidding. We're all in on it. We're dancing. And so they go really hard with this little dance performance on a subway car. And then, like, the police officer that's on that subway train catches wind of it. And he's, like, trying to stop them. And he's, like, chasing after them. And they're like, oh, crap. And the subway train stops and they all run off. And the police officer's chasing after them. And I'm just like, is it illegal to dance on the subway with your friends?
I mean, I'm sure if you're causing a disturbance,
yeah.
you know, like, then it's like, they're not going to, I wouldn't say they would arrest you, but they're probably like, you need to leave, like, stop.
Well, like, is this, do you think this qualifies as a public disturbance?
I mean, do I think it qualifies as a disturbance? No, I'd be like, oh, this is interesting.
Right.
But given the world today, and like, you never know what could happen. Yeah. You never know what someone might do. Then I would say yes, it would. Yeah, it makes sense that a police officer would come and be like, right, y'all need to leave.
Okay. Well, they also, in the midst of this, somebody spray paints the 410 on, like, the side of the wall within the subway.
Which, by the way, is the, like, area code for a Baltimore phone number.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the group themselves, they are called the 410. And we follow this girl, Andy, who is 16, and she's involved with the 410. She loves to dance. That's what she's here for. That is her sole personality trait, is that she is from Baltimore, and she likes to dance. And this whole, like, public disturbance with the 410 on the subway is on the news, and she comes home, and her guardian, who is not her mom, it is her mom's friend, because I guess her mom passed away. Her guardian is like, I know what you've been up to. It's all on the news. And she said, I wrote this down. She says, you got to take responsibility for your life. You can't follow the 410 forever. They're a bunch of criminals.
Did she say criminals?
Yes, she did.
Oh my gosh.
She said they're a bunch of criminals.
Yikes.
And I'm like, the acting in this movie is not good, but it's on point. Because the screenplay is legendary. Because it's not great. It's like, it's kind of like a so bad it's good kind of thing. It's like, they didn't write this movie to impress you with its writing. They wrote a movie around, let's get these awesome dance performances happening in this movie. And so to, I guess, like, experience the story around these dance performances, which is, like, not great, but it's, like, satisfying in how not great it is. It's, like, it's fun. That's what it's all about. So that's why I say it's legendary. It is well written in that regard. Like, it didn't need to be well written, but it's well written for the movie that they're making.
Yeah. It's like the purpose is the dance.
Exactly.
And so the fact that the dialogue's not great doesn't diminish the greatness of the movie.
You're having fun because the dialogue is bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. Or, like, who wrote that line? Or, like, why is this guy delivering this whole performance in this really monotone way?
You, like, absolutely hate it. Yeah. This character.
But it's, like, that's really funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a good time. Anyway, so she needs to take responsibility for her life, and her guardian is like, I'm going to send you to Texas to live with, I don't even remember who. Her aunt. Yeah. And she's like, no, the 410. So she's like, I got to get out of here. So she goes to this club called the Dragon. And there's people dancing at the Dragon. It's like
an underground scene where like dancers come and just like hang out, dance.
Yeah. Yeah. This feels like an alternate universe.
I mean, there are literally like underground dance scenes in Baltimore.
All
like
right,
that's
all right,
a thing.
all right, okay. No disrespect.
Yeah.
To those scenes, I've never seen it. I'm not privy to this experience. So, but I mean, it does seem like a pretty cool place to be, I will say. So, while she's there, she bumps into Channing Tatum's character from the first movie, because he was the star of the first movie, and it was the first movie I ever saw Channing Tatum in. Mm-hmm. So his character is there, and they know each other, and so he's like, Andy, what's going on? Like, I heard stuff, and she's like,
I heard stuff.
Yeah, she's like, I've got to dance, but I don't want to go to Texas, and he's like, you got to get your life together. And so he wants to put her in this school that he went to in the first movie, the Maryland School of the Arts, MSA. Remember that? And he's like, all right, like, we're going to do a dance-off. And if I win, you're going to go to school, like, class starts tomorrow. And if you win, I didn't see you here tonight. And she's like, you're on. So they have a dance battle.
With trampolines.
With a trampoline. Okay, so at the Dragon, where this is taking place, there is like a slit on the floor that they pull up a panel, and there's a trampoline there.
Yeah.
And it is this like rectangular trampoline.
Yeah.
And so they do these dance performances, and they incorporate the trampoline into the dance performances. But it's just this one spot that has a trampoline.
There's a few spots, because you see Channing Tatum like jump across a few.
No, there's just the one.
No, watch the clip, because when you pointed it out, you're like, is there just one? And I was like, oh, it looks like it. But then as I kept watching him dancing, he was like jumping. At the end, he like jumps to a few different spots.
All right.
Either way, it's like in a straight line.
Regardless, they have an awesome dance-off to settle it. And guess what? The protagonist of the first movie, Channing Tatum, he wins. Mm-hmm. And so she loses. And there's this, like, shady-looking dude who notices her. Yeah, he's, like, being a creep. And he comes up to her, and he's like... what did he say? He was
just like, you're a dope dancer.
Yeah,
don't let it get you down.
Yeah, don't let it get you down. These people are just jealous because you're dope. And then he goes and he does the robot in the corner.
Yeah, that scene was really weird. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the robot, but like this guy, he's gonna be. I'm gonna introduce him in a second, but his signature move is this like popping move. Where he will stop. If you're watching the video, I'm trying to emulate this right now. He move.
He does these like very sharp movements.
Yeah, and he'll like pause. Like he's doing the robot, but really fast.
There's probably a technical dance term for what he's doing. We just don't know because we're not dancers.
So I like to see it. He's speed running the robot, and that's what he's doing in the corner. And anyway, so Channing Tatum's there for a second, and then he's like, all right, well, like, I'll go tell your guardian, whose name I don't know. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go tell her, like, I'm gonna put you in the school, and it's gonna be all settled. And then he's like, but technically, actually, I'm not getting you into the school, I'm getting you an audition at the school, so good luck. And then he leaves for the whole movie. He doesn't come back. That's it. He's gone. Yep. From the whole franchise, probably. Is that accurate? Have you seen Step Up 3?
I haven't seen anything past Step Up 2.
I'm going to assume he's just gone.
I think so. Yeah. I don't think he comes back.
He has fulfilled his duties to this franchise, and he is on to greater things.
Magic Mike. I'm just kidding.
Magic Mike, 21 Jump Street. Who knows? All right. So she has an audition at MSA, the school, and... guess what? The guy doing the robot in the corner at the Dragon the other night, he is one of the people who are like assessing the dancers for these auditions. And there's this other guy who is assessing the dancers, and he's very like serious and proper in how he speaks. And anyway, there's a bunch of people, very pretentious, yes. And so there's a panel of like 4 people, those 2 being on that panel, who are assessing the dancers. And so Andy comes on and she does her street dancing, and the robot guy is like, "Oh, this is sick," and she leaves, and they're like, "Thank you, that'll be all." And the pretentious guy is like, "She's just a street dancer," and robot guy is like,
"Oh, do you want his name?" I think.
I know okay. Their names. Okay. I know their names. I'm going to give them in a second, but the audience does not know their names at this point. So
got you.
And
okay.
Right, for right now they are pretentious guy and robot guy.
Okay.
So robot guy is like, that was the best performance we've seen all day. Everybody else was like super unoriginal, and she had like something to show, and like I thought you could make anybody into a professional. So, the pretentious guy is like, okay. But it's like, clearly she's dancing well. It's like they're all just so pretentious. They're like, "Oh, we don't want to see this street dancing."
He's like all he cares about is ballet. Like,
yeah.
And it's like, that's not the only great type of dancing.
So this is going to be a major theme of the whole movie, and I'll tie it all up at the end with the theme. But you'll start to just notice what the theme is as I go through it. So she gets into the school, and she has a sidekick phone, so that we know what era this is. And she makes friends with the weird kid Moose, and he is like that kid at the school that knows everybody's business. He knows everybody's name, but maybe not everybody knows who he is.
I literally love Moose.
Yeah, he's very funny kid, and at one point she just dodges him. And she bumps into the robot guy. And I'm like, is he a student? Is he a teacher? I don't know. And he's a grown man. So it could go either way. Mm-hmm. I'm like, he's part of the panel. Is he his teacher? Mm-hmm. But he's talking to her and being all flirty as if he's a student. Mm-hmm. Turns out, yes, he is indeed a student. His name is Chase Collins. So from now on, I will be referring to Robot Guy as Chase Collins. And he's technically considered MSA royalty because his brother, a.k.a. Pretentious Guy, is Director Collins, as in director of the school Collins, basically the principal. And Director Collins went to the school, graduated in like 1997, and went to like the Royal Ballet, Russian Ballet, whatever. He did some big ballet stuff, and he's got a lot to show for it. And so now he's come back to the school to teach people, his refined ways that he's learned in the world of refined dance. And so he's just got a big stick up his butt, really. That's what's going on there. So the 2 of them are actually brothers. And Director Collins probably has a first name, but I don't think they gave him one. His first name is Director.
Yeah, I don't know.
So from now on, it's going to be Director Collins and Chase. Chase being Robot Guy. Now, they have class, and Director Collins is having all the students do like a freestyle thing. And he's going to play a song, and they just got to come up with a dance. And so Andy goes up, and she's given a very slow song, but she's dancing to it very very fast, very quick, not quack. She starts dancing very fast because that's all she knows how to do is dance fast because she is a street dancer, and that's just the style. So Director Collins is like, I need you to attend after school sessions with me. And the scene before this, she hangs out with the 410 basically every single day. And the 410, they're trying to like really nail down a dance routine because they want to compete at the streets. And the streets is a dance competition that only happens in their area, and it's like all the best dance crews get together and they put on all these performances, and they really want to win the streets because it's a big deal. Yeah. It's like local reputation kind of thing. So they're going to start practicing every single day at 4 p.m. to get serious. And then, cut to the next scene. She's like improvising for Director Collins, and he's like, no. This is not good enough. You're going to do one-on-one lessons with me every day after school. And she's like, well, I got places to be. And he's like, well, that won't do. And so she goes to her little things with Director Collins every single day at 4:00, and her friends start to wonder, like, where are you? You're not showing up to the 410 anymore. It's like you don't want to follow us forever. Anyway, so she's like practicing, learning how to do like proper ballet and stuff. Meanwhile, Chase is in the other dance studio doing his street dancing. So, like, what the heck? But yeah, her friends are like partying. They're like, why isn't she partying with us? And this is when I kind of started to question, like, do dance art high schools exist? Is that a thing?
Yeah, performing arts school.
Performing art, like, for high schools?
I think so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. The tuition's probably through the roof.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, anyway. My next note says, how much does this school cost?
Probably a lot.
Probably a lot. Anyway.
I'm sure they have, like, scholarships and stuff, though, for...
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, my next note says, Director Collins is literally a fart. So...
Yeah, he sucks.
Anyway, one day, Andy shows up late to the 410 meeting, and the lead of the group, Tuck, he's like, you're not serious? You're going to that MSA school? He, like, just finds out about it. He's like, you're going to that prim and proper school? You're not spending any time with us? You out. So she's like, oh, she's out. Mm-hmm. So then she is talking to Chase about it at school, and she's like, I'm not in with the 410 anymore, but I really want to compete at the streets. And he's like, hey, I really want to compete at the streets. Let's put our own crew together. And she's like, psh, nobody wants to do that. And he's like, nah, you're just not looking in the right places. So he knows of all of the perfect misfits at school that all exist in like different departments, and says they would be perfect for our dance crew. And he gets them all together, and they're going to go compete at the streets. But most of them don't even have speaking lines in the movie, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He gives this whole explanation on like who their character is, why they're important, and how they can help. And so we have all this collection of people with different traits of like how they dance, but no speaking lines. They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
So
aside from Moose, it's like Moose, Andy, and Chase are the only real important people we care about.
Right. The rest of them are just there to be part of the dance crew.
Yeah.
And they talk sometimes, but it's not, it's required dialogue, not character development dialogue. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they rehearse at MSA after hours, and I'm like, oh no, Director Collins, he's going to find out and he's going to shut it all down. But that doesn't really quite happen. So this is when I started to really pick up on what the theme of these movies is. The theme, as I've started to notice, of Step Up movies is it's really about a war. It's a culture war in the United States.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like classism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like whiteness versus blackness, almost. I might be going I might be stretching this too far. See, it's just like I see the school as like the whiteness.
Yeah.
And then everything that's not the school is like,
I mean,
I might be totally misrepresenting this argument.
I mean, I don't think the intention is to make it necessarily about race.
I
think that it just so happens people of color are like in their communities are dancing, and then like those who can afford to go to like a really nice school like that are probably most likely going to be white folks who have that opportunity. But because like some of the people that were in the dance crew they were all people of color.
Right.
You know?
That is true. I mean, there are a lot of people of color that go to this school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of I was looking at the people that run the school. Like, it's a bunch of white people, and all of our main characters at the school are white people. So that's kind of how I was viewing it. It was like it's a war between basically, I mean, the upper class and like everybody below that.
Yeah.
And the school represents the upper class, and they are really the bad guys of the movie, and the everybody else that's not at the school are like the good guys. Well, it's actually weird because our main characters go to the school, but it's like their roots are from outside the school. So like this is a theme in the first movie too. It's like these people who come from less well-off backgrounds that now go to the school, but the school is kind of like they got their established ways and they're very stuck in those. But like there is beauty to the art that the character that came from outside of the school has that is not being acknowledged by the school itself.
Yeah.
And that's like the theme in that it's like
what's valuable, like what's deemed like great, like what is deemed as like good, a good art form, and like
it's like the people who are holding the power like in society with like financial resources are deciding what's worth paying, like what's worthy as an art form, and recognizing through the story of the movie that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, other experiences are also just as admirable.
Yes. And so that's why I'd say that's the theme of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yes, excuse my faux pas on the race thing there.
No, I mean, I thought it's an interesting thing, but I also think it's interesting, and I don't really have my own thoughts on it. I think it's interesting that both main characters, at least in the first and the second one, are white people,
right,
coming from like lower income backgrounds and like now broaching into this like pretentious school.
Yeah, which
I think is interesting, and I wonder how the story would have been different if we were following a person of color who's now going to this school. I don't know. You made an interesting point. I didn't even think about like the race aspect of things so blatantly, but definitely the classism is like very apparent.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like a constant lesson for the more pretentious characters to like learn how to value the non-pretentious stuff around them that is beautiful, but they're not paying attention to, or they're not giving like the time of day to. Really, Director Collins with the stick up his butt.
I know.
Who is also a fart.
Yeah.
So they end up getting into a preemptive dance battle against the 410 at the Dragon, and they totally get their butts whooped. This is the MSA dance crew. And yeah, they get their butts whooped. And her Andy's friend, who's part of the 410, decides to leave. And she's like, they're getting really, they're on a power trip, and it's not about family anymore. Speaking of Fast and Furious movies.
Thinking about that.
But yeah, she's like, it's not about family anymore. And they're like, yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that. She's just now their friend. And they decide, yeah, okay, well, you know what? We are going to, like, we want to compete at the streets. We did not do well when we were at the Dragon, when we were up against the 410. But if we keep practicing, we can be the best at the streets, where it really counts. So they have to declare that they're competing for at the streets. And so they post a video, and this is called The Prank. So they have to post on The Prank. And so they post a video on The Prank to declare that they're competing at the streets. A lot of technical terms here. And they do it in the most like chaotic video possible. So Tuck, the leader of the 410, he's in their video, and they just got a bunch of shots of them dancing behind him, and somehow he's got a camera in his face and he's in the foreground and he just doesn't notice it, and they're like in the background dancing. And I'm gotta say, they're not even dancing anything like super impressive. It feels like a meme video.
Well, I don't think the point was to like show off your dance moves. It's like get yourself noticed. Like do something wild that would get us to notice you and invite you to the streets.
Okay, well they literally break into Tuck's house and put a fish in his like air conditioning system.
Yeah. In his vent.
In his vent, yes. Which is like so chaotic of a thing to do. So I thought that was weird.
I love that scene. I love the prank that they did. I thought it was so funny. And they're all dressed like grandmas. Yeah. And they're just like dancing. I don't know. It's just funny.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
It is fun. I was just like, 2008. Woo.
But like, can't you imagine, especially back then, some like dumb video on YouTube like that? Yeah. Like it makes sense.
No, that's like 100% yes. I just thought it was really interesting that it's like you're declaring that you're competing in a dance competition by not actually dancing.
I mean, they did dance a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, I'll move things along. I think we're at like 40 minutes now. So, oh my goodness. They go to a dope family barbecue that her friend, Andy's friend who left the 410, whose name I don't recall, her family puts on the barbecue, and everybody's there, and Chase is there, and Andy and Chase are like having an intimate moment.
They salsa.
Yeah, they salsa together, and this guy who's in the 410 shows up and sees them and is like, what's this about? And he calls up Tuck. And so in the next scene, I mean, they're about to kiss, like Andy and Chase are about to kiss. They get interrupted by like a car or something, whatever. Cut to the next scene. Tuck and his friends find Chase on the street. And they're like, oh, you have a good barbecue? You have a fun time dancing it up? And they basically beat him up. And they say, cut that out.
Yeah, and stay away from Andy.
Stay away from Andy, yeah. And that's... I'm going to spoil Step Up 1, if anybody cares.
It's so old.
Yeah. In Step Up 1, the like falling action of the movie, like not the what's the in a narrative arc.
Yeah.
There's like the exposition. There's the exposition, the rising action. What's the middle one called?
Climax.
Is that the climax? And then the falling action, and then the conclusion? Yeah. Is it the climax?
Yeah,
the climax? The peak
is the climax.
The climax? Okay. So the climax of Step Up 1 is like when Channing Tatum's friend's little brother, Skinny, dies because he gets shot. And it feels like the climax in this movie is Chase gets beaten up. And
sorry.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's your reaction laughing about that. That's my point that I'm trying to bring up here. Like Step Up 1, it's like somebody literally lost their life. Whew. And then in this movie it's like the pretty boy got beat up.
I wouldn't say that's the climax. I'd say the climax is when the 410 breaks into the school and like destroys it, and then he's like, anyone associated with like the streets. Oh
yeah. The director Collins
will be expelled. Like we'll be done.
Okay, well, it's all, I guess, in terms of, like, harm to people, it's just, like, Chase gets beaten up.
And you're like, you're fine. Get up. Walk
he's
it
fine.
Off.
Yeah, he's good. Nobody has to go losing their lives or anything in this movie. So I was like, okay, the stakes, a lot lower.
Yes.
So, you just hit the nail on the head on the next thing I was going to say. So, also, Director Collins decides to expel Andy because she brought this problem to the school, so they need to get rid of her. And this is when I wrote down that director Collins was in the wrong movie. I mean, the guy is just like, what is this performance? I swear to God.
And it seems like every time he's talking, there's a spotlight on him. Like the way that it's lit.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Especially in that scene when he's expelling her. There's a spotlight
like, where's
on him.
That light coming from?
Yeah, that light came out of nowhere. It is stronger than everything else in the scene.
Yeah, it's weird.
That is not a natural light. And the way that he just talks is so like, I can't have this in my school. Yeah. And it's like this young dude too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If he graduated, let's do the math. This takes place in 2008. He graduated from this high school in 1997. Mm-hmm. So this guy is like 29. He's my age. Mm-hmm. Why does he talk like that?
I don't know.
Anyway, he's this like 29-year-old dude who's the principal of this performing arts school, and he's like, I don't understand the way that you are dancing. Mm-hmm. I can't have this at my school. Mm-hmm. Somebody has to answer for this. Mm-hmm. And like, that's just him the whole movie. Mm-hmm. I could be given his lines and played. I could have done that role. I couldn't have done the dancing that he does. But I could have done that role. Like, anybody could have done it just better than this guy did. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that he was told to do it. And I mean, it is hilarious. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this does get back at the whole point about the screenplay being legendary and that it's not good.
I think I like cut him slack too, because I think they're like dancers first before actors.
That is true.
And so it's like,
that is true.
It's okay.
Well, everybody splits apart. Oh, no, wait. No, hold the phone. So Chase, oh my gosh. Yeah, all right, yeah. So Chase is then talking to Andy, and Andy's like, well, I guess I'm expelled. And Chase is like, Andy, don't do this. Like, we gotta, like, she's like, she doesn't want to be part of it anymore, and he doesn't want to be part of it. Or before they got expelled, he didn't want to be a part of it, but now she's getting expelled, and he's like, no, I want to be a part of it. And she's like, I can't be a part of it. And he's like, no, don't do this. And his bruise that was on his face is like suddenly gone.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. But then like probably. In the next shot, it was back. So I'm like, I don't know. And so then her guardian is like, you're going to Texas. And some people, no. And then Chase starts talking to his brother, director Collins. And Chase is like, some people do what they do because it's what they love. And isn't that why we started dancing in the first place? And I'm just like, I just love that. Because it's dancing. It's like all of this. And it's all about dancing. These people just want to dance. And that is fantastic. Like, that is so funny to me. That he's like, isn't that why we started dancing in the first place? Like, it's the thing. It's the thing that unites them. It's the thing that they, as brothers, bonds them together. And it's like, it's dancing. It's not something else. It's not like, I don't know. Isn't that why we joined the army in the first place? None of that. No. It's about dancing.
Don't diminish
Isn't
dancing.
that why we started dancing in the first? No, I love dancing. It is just so awesome that something like dancing, which is just moving your body in a rhythm to music, is being treated in this like super serious way.
I mean, that's any sport, football. In football movies, you're going to hear the same thing. In basketball movies, you're going to hear the same thing. It's the same happens for dancers.
It's the fact that it's not a sport and that it's like an art form.
You don't consider dancing a sport?
No. Okay. Well, okay. So, hold the phone. I didn't say that. Well, I did say that.
I was like, you just did.
It's the fact that it's like not considered like a traditional sport. It is, but see, like, it's an athletic activity, so like that doesn't diminish it. My point is that like you don't. It's the fact that it is not treated in the discourse of like the social discourse as this like as serious thing. Like, you tell people, oh yeah, I've been like dancing, and it's like a lot of people will be quick to brush that off because it's not baseball, it's not football, it's dancing, but dancing is serious work. So it's the fact that it's I don't know. It's just so funny the way that he says it. It's like, isn't that why we started dancing in the first place? It's like, yes. Like, oh, y'all dance. Do it. I love that for you. But it's just funny. I mean, it would be kind of funny to hear them say, isn't that why we started playing baseball in the first place? Like, it's just the line. Mm-hmm. I got a huge kick out of it. Anyway, the whole crew disbands. But they all get a text message because when the streets is going to go down, you don't know it's going to be that night. You get a text and it tells you where to be that night. And you've got to be prepared. So they get the text. The streets are on. And everybody is not together. And Chase decides, I'm going to go to the streets. And he's at like a fundraising event. And all of the other people that are in the crew are also like working a fundraising event as like waiters. Again, it's a very prim and proper event for this very prim and proper school, and all of these students of color are,
I was like, that's slavery.
Are like, suddenly working as like service staff for this fundraiser.
Literally, I was like, I hate that.
Classism. Yeah. So they all decide to leave the school fundraiser. Like, whatever about this. And they go and find Andy at the school, at her house. And they're like, you're so important to us. And she's like, no, like, I gotta go to Texas. I gotta take responsibility for my life. And they're like, no, we need you. You're so important to us. And her guardian is like hearing this, and she's like, maybe this is good. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe she's really important to them, and that matters. And so she brings Andy in. She's like, you remind me so much of your mother. This is a beautiful thing. You got to go dance. And she's like, all right, it's on. So they are all like, we're going. And she's like, let's do this. And Director Collins is back at the fundraiser. And he's like, where did people go? Or something like that. I don't know. He's like, where's Chase? Where are the people? Mm-hmm. And Moose is there. And he's like, I know where they are. They're at the streets. And so he's like, could you take me to this streets? And it's not quite like that, but it's basically like that. Yeah. And Moose is like, yeah, I'll take you. Let's go. And he does say, I wrote this down. He says, they're at the streets. I have to stop this. Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic. Anyway, cut to the streets. And the titular streets, literally, step up to the streets. The 410, well, actually, no. Before I even mention the 410, the Jabberwockies are there.
Yes, I love the Jabberwockies.
So, if you don't know who the Jabberwockies are, they won the very first season of America's
Best Dance Crew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
which, oddly enough, this movie came out before the end of that first season of ABDC.
Are you sure?
Yes. I looked up the dates because I was like, this does not make any sense. Yeah. So they had to film this movie before they were even on ABDC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to like read into that a little bit because that's curious.
I looked it up, yeah. Because this movie came out February 14th, 2008. Okay. The first season of ABDC aired February 2008 and didn't finish until March 2008.
Interesting. Well, maybe, do you think maybe they filmed ABDC before and then they won and they're like, let's get them a cameo in the new Step Up movie?
Potentially. But still, the cameo came out before we would have known that they were the winners of.
Damn.
Yeah. But I'm also
way
wondering
to spoil your own competition show.
But I'm wondering too, like, because like their dance crew existed before this competition. And so like I feel like people who go on the shows like have somewhat of a following already, you know?
That's true.
So I'm sure that when they're looking for prominent dance crews, Jabberwockies probably came up on their radar for casting and they were like, oh, let's stick them in the movie.
Yeah, the Jabberwockies, gosh, me and my friends did watch a lot of their videos.
Yeah, they're
so
cool.
Really cool.
They made an appearance in one of DaBaby's music videos, and it had been so long since I saw the Jabberwockies, and like everyone lost it. They were like, it's the Jabberwockies.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
And they're the best part of that music video.
Yeah, so the Jabberwockies, they're motif is that they wear these like white masks over their faces, so you don't see their faces, and they don't say anything. They're like Daft Punk in a sense,
but better.
I smell a collab in the future. No, I'm just kidding. And do they always wear red tracksuits too?
I think they change their outfits.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here they're wearing red tracksuits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know for a fact that there is a deleted scene on YouTube of them doing like a full performance for the movie, because that's what me and my friends watched. We're like, oh, Step Up to the Streets deleted scene with the Jabberwockies.
Yeah. I think they always do wear a tracksuit, but it's different colors.
That makes sense. So the Jabberwockies are there, and they're competing.
Which, like, who beat the Jabberwockies? How do you beat the Jabberwockies?
The main characters. So the 410 perform, and cool. They do their dance. Not gonna lie, straight fire. It's great. Really cool performance. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, all right, they win. And the MSA crew, they're there, and they're like, wait, we want to perform. And the whole place recognizes them as that crew that lost to the 410 back at the Dragon. They're like, boo, nah, like, we don't want to watch you perform. We're not even gonna let you perform. And the MC is like, nah. And Andy, she, through the power of being the main character, gets in front of everybody while this loud music is playing, and she's like, quiet down, like, and she gets everybody to stop talking and listen to her after they're all booing her. And she gives this whole speech, and she's basically, what she says, it's not about where you're from or what you've got, it's about what you do with what you've got. And everybody's like, yeah, I agree with that. And so they're like, oh, we'll let them dance. And it's like, what? Yeah. But great.
Well, it's not even like they're not even like, we'll let them dance, because after she says all that, she's like, if y'all want to see us dance and see us whoop their butt, we'll be out on the actual streets.
Yeah,
like
where it all started.
Yeah. So she's like, y'all can come and see for yourself.
So they go outside to do their dance routine, and it happens to start raining. It is pouring. And they give the craziest performance.
Oh my gosh. Iconic. Sometimes when I'm in a bad mood, I just YouTube this performance and I watch it, and I'm literally like, oh, I feel great.
All right, so it's amazing, but I do need to address the elephant in the room. They were very prepared for a water performance.
Yes.
They have an unfair water advantage because the water makes their dance so much flashier.
Yeah, it makes it so much cooler.
Yeah. And the 410 did not have water to perform in.
We don't think too deep about it. You just say, oh, this was spontaneous.
But there's so many movements
that
like are specific to them splashing the water in different directions, and it's like they wouldn't be doing that unless there was going to be some kind of visual like greatness to that action. So they were very prepared for that to be a water performance.
Oh, but it's so great.
But it's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
It really is great. Like I want to watch it again tonight.
I know. I love it so much. You have like the moment of like angst where they're dancing to like rock music, and it's like the water's pouring down and they're all like dun 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 dun, and then you have like the moment of just like sexiness where it's like the guys and the girls are dancing together, and it's just like the water's pouring down, and you're just like, oh, this gives me everything I need.
And it's great because like each of the characters that we were introduced to that don't have speaking lines, this is basically their equivalent of having speaking lines.
Yeah.
They get a moment to shine. Mm-hmm. And it's like each of them does get an opportunity to shine their own particular set of skills.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, fantastic.
It gives me so much like dopamine, serotonin. I'm like, oh, I love this.
Yeah. And so it turns out this movie was directed by John Chu, who he made like the Justin Bieber documentaries, like Never Say Never. And then he made like G.I. Joe 2 Retaliation. Also
what a random set of movies.
Yeah. But then now he's like more known for having directed Crazy Rich Asians. But I have like a hometown advantage with following John Chu because he is from my hometown in Los Altos, California. And his father owns a restaurant in my hometown called Chef Chu's, and it is an amazing restaurant. And Chef Chu, actually, he used to eat pizza at the pizza place that I worked at. So that to me was like, hey, if Chef Chu is coming to our pizza place and not the other pizza place in town, that to me says we are the best pizza place in town.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so I mean, if you go to Chef Chu's in Los Altos, there are like posters of like John Chu's movies, and there's like pictures on the walls of like famous people that have eaten there. It's like Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith like ate there when they were in like 2008. So yeah,
was there a Step Up 2 poster?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's got to be. Yeah. And yeah, I just like, I went to that restaurant all the time growing up. It was a very nice restaurant. The last time I went there was like 4 years ago, I want to say. And we got the Peking duck, and they had to call ahead to get that Peking duck. And you know what? It was delicious. So Chef Chu's, check it out.
How did we get on this tangent?
Because John Chu is the son of Chef Chu. This is like this is just something that, like, being from that area that you're just like proud of. It's like it's like a, hey, I kind of know this famous person, but I don't moment, you know?
Got you.
It's like, hey, I saw Chef Chu eat at the restaurant that I worked at, and his son directed these big movies, and that's cool.
Alrighty.
Little hometown badge of honor. Anyway, that's all I had to say about this movie. Take it away with your fun facts.
What's your overall consensus?
Would totally watch again. Yeah, not gonna lie, I would totally watch it again.
Yeah.
And overall, yeah, really enjoyed it. And can we please watch that final dance performance tonight before we go to bed?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I'll never turn that down.
Sweet.
So I didn't really pull any facts because there weren't any outstanding facts about this movie. I will say personally, I love Step Up 2 so freaking much. I don't even remember the first one. I couldn't care less about the first one, even though that was, like, to me, Channing Tatum's, like, peak attractiveness was Step Up 1. But that's my own opinion. Sound like you're having a moment right now. No, but I literally couldn't tell you what happened in the first Step Up because I just, like, don't remember it. But Step Up 2, I watch all the time because I love it. So since I didn't get any facts, I have questions for you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever tried to learn how to dance?
So we did plays growing up when I was a kid, so we had to learn how to do, like, choreography and stuff.
Yeah.
Then I've taken ballroom dance classes when I was in community college, like my first year of community college 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But never, like, dance like this.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no.
Gotcha. So I absolutely love dancing.
Yeah, dancing's great.
Like, I love to watch dancers. I love dancer, like, culture. Like, I love watching documentaries about dancers. I don't know. I just, like, am so amazed by it. And I think dancers are the coolest people. Like, they have so much swag that I wish I had. And, like, it makes me so sad that, one, I can't dance, and that I don't have this, like, magical power that they have and, like, the swag that they have. But, so, like, my background with dancing, when I was very little, I did tap and jazz as, like, a little girl. I was, again, not a great dancer. So I pivoted, ended up doing gymnastics, and then later competitive cheer. However, my sister, Courtney, she was a dancer, and she was always a dancer, literally, I think, through, like, high school maybe. And she did dance for school, but she also did, like, competitive dancing. And so I got to go to some of her, like, competitions, and it was so cool to see these, like, dance crews, and they all have, like, a cool outfit on that, like, goes with their, like, performance, and they would just do these awesome things, and I just loved it so much. And as, like, a cheerleader, so with competitive cheer competitions, a lot of them are joint with, like, dance competitions. So you have these, like, big time competitions, like what's it called? Oh, I forget the names of them now. But anyways, so, but when you have the cheer and dance competition, there's one side of like, you're usually at like a stadium of some sort or like a arena of some sort. There's usually like one side that's the cheer stuff and then one side that's the dance stuff. Yeah. And so anytime I had a cheer competition, right, I would be with my cheer team. We would perform. Your performances last like 2 hours, not 2 hours, 2 minutes and like 30 seconds. Sorry. I would literally die because after that 2 minutes, like it sounds really short, but after tumbling,
you do so much.
doing stunts, like all these things, jumps, everything, you're exhausted. Like we had girls who had asthma on the team that would literally like you had to run them their inhaler.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. But so after our little 2-minute performance or whatever, as soon as I got off the stage, I'd be like, Mom, let's go to the dancers. Cause that's all I wanted to watch. I was like, I don't care about one. Again, I'm not a competitive person, so I couldn't care less how the other teams did, how we ranked against them. It didn't matter to me. I literally would go off the stage and be like, let's head to the dancers, would go to the dancer side and just sit and watch the dancers the whole day until it was time for like our awards ceremony. Because I just love to watch. They're so cool. And I'm like, this is just amazing. And so, yeah, I feel like in this time period, early 2000s, you had all this dance content. Like you had Step Up. There was a movie called Honey with Jessica Alba. You have like Save the Last Dance. America's Best Dance Crew came out in 2008.
I remember that. So You Think You Can Dance?
Yeah, So You Think You Can Dance. Like, I feel like dancing was a big part of like our pop culture.
Yeah.
Especially any kind of like hip hop dancing and things like that. And I used to watch them in so much awe, and I loved every single one of them. And I would like for fun try and learn like choreography. I'd pull up a YouTube video and like be like, oh, here's like learn how to dance to this. And it was like literally a choreographer being like, okay, here, do this move, whatever, doing the counts and everything. And then by the end of the video, you like knew the whole dance. And I loved that stuff. And so I don't know, it's fun to look back at that time and be like, dancing was so fun. Like dancing was such a cool thing. And now you have TikTok dances, but it's not the same.
It is not the same.
Yeah.
So I knew a guy in high school who he was like really into dancing as well. Mm-hmm. And so he would film these videos and it would be like him doing dance videos. And I think he was like, you know, very inspired by like Step Up and Jabberwockies and you know, just all of that whole part of the culture.
Yeah.
So he got really into like making those videos, and he would like edit them and stuff, and he started to get really good. Nowadays, I mean, so I know he started filming people's weddings, and like he filmed one of my friends' weddings, who we all went to school together, and he did a fantastic job. And he now he's like the videographer or something like that for the for like a basketball team. And I think that's like so cool. And it all just started from him like really enjoying this, like, I mean, you know, you'd have to ask him for like the official origin story motivations, but like for me, it all started with him like really enjoying these dance videos and wanting to make them for himself. And now he's like doing this like really big thing for a big part of the culture. Yeah. Like that's really cool to me.
Yeah. I like wish we were still back in that time of like dancing things being cool. Like I used to watch this guy on YouTube. He was a choreographer, Kyle Hanagami, I think was his name. And I still am subscribed to him, and occasionally they'll post videos, but it's not as much as they used to. And I would literally I would follow the dancers. Like there was a girl specifically, I think her name was Haley, and I loved the way she danced. And like every time he made a video and she was like the lead dancer in that video, I was like so obsessed with it. She did a dance to that Beyonce song. Which song was it? Partition? No, Beyonce. Yeah. And it was just like the best thing I've ever seen. And I'm just like, how come we don't have that? Like, I feel like we had like dance moms, and that fizzled everything out.
Dance moms.
Yeah, it was so like terrible.
I remember the first time I saw dance moms, I was like, what is this?
Nothing but abusiveness, honestly. Abuse of children for the sake of entertainment.
Yikes.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we don't have that kind of like dance culture so prominent. And maybe I'm just like not looking at the right pieces of content, but I don't know. I just feel like it's not as prominent anymore, which makes me sad. I love it.
All right. For the sake of time, I think we should move things along.
Wait, can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. So speaking of me saying that I don't feel like there was saying that I don't think there's that much dance content anymore. In 2020, a movie came out, a Netflix original called Work It. Yeah.
Okay.
That's something I want to assign you because I feel like that brought back the nostalgia of dance movies.
Are you saying it to me today?
No. I'm just saying in the future. Yeah, I feel like watching that movie brought back that nostalgia for a movie like Step Up, you know? And so, yeah, that's just, if anyone wants to watch that. I don't know when I'll assign it to you, probably later on down the road, but I liked it. It was cute.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So what's next? What are we talking about?
Okay. So I was assigned Saban's Power Rangers.
I forgot about that. Saban's
Power Rangers.
Yes.
I feel like that's important to put out there. Which came out.
We'll discuss that in a second.
Yes, which came out in 2017. Yes. And honestly, I don't even know how to talk about this movie because it was just nonsense. The whole thing was nonsense.
That's unfortunate.
So I guess to start, we start off the movie with Zordon, who is this space dude, but living on Earth. I don't know.
Okay, wait. This is Power Rangers.
Yeah.
This is like a reboot.
Yeah.
That was made in 2017.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to preface a little bit of what is Power Rangers?
Well, everyone knows what Power Rangers is, right?
Yeah, it's just
there are these
Power Rangers is still being made. It's still on TV. So this came out as a movie while the show was still being made. All right, yeah. Take us through. I just feel like I had to say that. Yeah, go. How does the movie open? What's going on? Tell us about the movie.
Yeah, so we see Zordon, and he is burying these. I called them Chaos Emeralds because I didn't know exactly what they were.
Zeo Crystal. Oh no, wait. He's burying the power coins.
Yeah. So there's these coins that we can only assume will power up the Power Rangers, will create the Power Rangers.
And when is this happening?
I don't know.
It's happening on Earth during the Cenozoic era.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Literally makes no sense. And so he's burying these things, and while he's burying them, he's these 5 powerful individuals will find these, and they'll become the Power Rangers or whatever. And we see a villain named Rita, which is played by Elizabeth Banks. Oh, by the way, Zordon is played by Bryan Cranston, which I had no clue until you were like, that's Bryan Cranston. I was like, what?
Look who it is. And you're like, I don't know who that man is. That's Bryan Cranston. Because he's got all this crazy prosthetics on and stuff.
So we see Rita and we realize, okay, she's the villain. And at some point she's going to come back and it's going to be bad news for Earthlings. So then cut to modern times, and we meet this kid named Jason. It's Billy from Stranger Things. I don't know the dude's name is starts with a D.
Dacker Montgomery.
Yeah, it's that dude. And basically he's up to no good. He stole a cow or something to pull a prank, gets in trouble, gets put on house arrest, and has detention for the rest of the semester. And there goes his football career, which was literally not important at all. I don't even know why that was a detail.
Because the town,
it literally has no impact.
People are just the whole town is upset with him.
Yeah, they're mad at him
because he's the star quarterback for the local team,
and he ruined their chances at a championship.
Yes, his dad had scouts coming to every game, and there goes his whole football career because now he's got to be in detention.
Dumb. And so he's in detention, and there are other kids in detention, one of which is this kid named, what's his name?
Billy.
Billy, yes, this kid named Billy, who is getting bullied by someone else in detention. And so Jason is like, yo, stop bullying him. And he slaps the heck out of him. And Billy's like, did you just slap him? And he's like, yeah. And so
he's like, yeah, weird, right?
Yeah. And so they're like friends basically at this point because, you know, he got rid of Billy's bully. And so Billy is like, hey, will you help me after school? I can help you too, basically. And so Jason goes to Billy's house and they're trying to like dismantle his house arrest anklet thing.
Yeah.
And Billy does so successfully. Billy's kind of this like techie kid. Like he likes to build things. He knows how to work technology. He knows how to like he is always like exploding things, which is how he got into detention because he like blew up his locker or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so because Jason is helping Billy, he is driving Billy to this like mountainous area for some reason. Billy has to do something there.
Yeah, Billy like spends a lot of time at the gold mine, and he's been digging at the gold. Like it's like an abandoned gold mine.
Yeah.
And he's been digging there for a while.
Yeah. And so Jason takes him there, and then Jason's like, all right, this is kind of weird. Like, I'm leaving. Like, you promised me I could use this car, borrow your car for a little bit.
Which, like, what did he even need to do?
Right. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Nothing makes sense in this freaking movie. It's like, how do we get from point A to point B? Why is this information important? Mm-hmm. And nothing's explained. And so Billy, like, Jason is like, Billy's kind of weird. Like, Billy's a little bit sus. And then Billy lets him know, like, hey, I'm on the spectrum. So, yeah, which I don't really know why. Like, why? I don't know why that, like, conversation happened.
Yeah, he's, like, trying to tell Jason, like, if I seem a little weird, it's because I'm on the spectrum. Yeah. And Jason is literally like, I don't care.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I don't even know what happens. Hold on, let me look at they see a girl that.
Now Jason sees Kim, who is also in detention with them.
Yeah.
Or she was in detention with them earlier that day, and she's got girl troubles with her friends.
Wait, was this at the mine, or is this back in detention now?
No. I'm quickly describing Kim's character. Her friends like are so like jacked up about.
It makes no
like,
sense.
Yeah. Her friends are like so mad at her that they literally have a physical photo of the three of them. And they take out a pair of scissors and cut her out of that photo and then stab it to the wall in the bathroom.
Yeah, they were very dramatic. But also, like, didn't she do something, like, very messed up?
Oh, yeah. She sent some guy
pictures of her
friend. Yeah.
And then proceeded to show Jason. She's like, I'm a bad person. I did this. I'm like, you're still doing it. Like, yes, you're trash. Like, what am I supposed to feel for you?
Anyway, Jason sees her. When he's like
gold mine, right?
At the gold mine, he's like leaving Billy, and he sees Kim, and Kim like starts taking off her clothes, but then jumps into the water.
Oh yes.
And so he's like watching, but then she doesn't get up out of the water, and he's like, oh, Kim.
Yeah.
And then, but she's fine. She like went through like some secret passageway. I don't even know. But she like pops up behind him, and she's like, it's weird to hear you say my name.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened, and I don't really know what else happens. So how they meet the other two people, everyone just happens to be at the gold mine.
Yeah, the Power Rangers, if you do not know, is a group of 5 teens with attitude. And so those 3 are all there for God knows what reasons.
I don't know. That's their escape place, I guess.
And then there's Zach, who just like... Wait,
I want to explain the characters.
Yeah.
So Zach...
What were they doing?
I don't know what they were doing. But Zach.
Oh, that's what I was trying to explain.
Okay, well, explain what they were doing, but don't explain who they are.
Okay, well, there's this guy Zach, and he was chilling on top of some trains.
They weren't doing anything. That's the thing. That's why I can't remember.
He was just there.
They're just there,
chilling on some trains, and when you first see him, he's like, "Oh, this girl's back again. Let's see what this girl's up to. Who are you, girl?"
Yeah.
And he like pulls out some binoculars and he's like looking at Trini.
Yes.
And Trini is doing like some yoga or something.
Yeah.
On a rock.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Who are you?" Yeah. And she's just listening to like metal on her headphones doing yoga and happens to be like, by the mine.
That's the thing. Like, consistently through the movie, they all just show up to this mine, and it's like it wasn't planned. They just happened to be at the mine, and it's ridiculous. It makes no sense. But it also turns out they are all in detention. And so basically they come together. Something weird happens where, Billy like blows up the gold mine.
Like a rock.
Yeah. And it causes Trini, who is played by Becky G.
She's a musical artist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, is that Becky G? And I thought I was just tripping. And you were like, that is indeed Becky G.
Yeah.
I was like, what is she doing in here?
Yeah.
So yeah, it causes Becky to fall, take a tumble, which like, how did she survive? Who knows? Without any scrapes. And it causes everyone else to be like, whoa. And so they all come together and they're like, whoa, like, what is this?
What's this, like, new glass rock or whatever?
Yeah. And Zach, who is, like, the impulsive one, he just, like, doesn't think when he does things. He just starts, like, breaking at it. And they're like, no, don't do it. And they find the power coins. And they're like, what are these things? Interesting. And then, like, somehow it cuts to them just, like, back at home. And they, like, wake up and they think it's, like, a dream. Like, everyone's back at their respective places. And they're like, what happened? But they all have this powered coin.
Now, did the thing with the train, with the crash, did that happen yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it did. Because that's how they end up back at home. And they're like, what happened? Like, they crashed So basically.
Now, why did they crash?
Well, because I think the police were coming. Because they're
the police found them.
Yeah, so this gold mine's a restricted area. The police found them, so they all take off and they hop in the car to escape. But they end up getting into, like, a train hits their car. And so, like, and they are tumbling. Like, again. No way they would have survived.
Yeah.
However,
it's obvious that this car, this like stunt car that is flying through the air, does not have people in it.
Yeah.
But they're in it.
Yeah. And so they magically survive and they all wake up at their homes and they're like, what? Like we should have died. Like what happened? But they have these power coins, so that must have played a role in why they survived, and they're perfectly fine. And they don't know how they got home, but they got home, so it's okay. And so they all are in detention.
Well, but they're all having like weird moments. Like Billy wakes up and he pulls
really
the
strong.
door. Yeah.
And he like breaks his like sink in the bathroom.
Yeah. Not Billy.
Jason,
breaks his sink in the bathroom.
Yeah. So they're all really strong. They all feel different.
Yeah.
And so eventually they meet back up at this gold mine. And
I just real quick want to say that when we saw that, I wrote that they all have like the next day Spider-Mans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very
like
much
when
how
Tobey Maguire wakes up, he's like, whoa, I'm strong, and whoa, I can see. And I can
see, yeah.
Like, what's going on with my body?
Yeah.
And he's like at school, at the cafeteria.
Oh, is that when he does the like tray thing?
Yeah.
Like, doo-doo-doo? Yeah.
And they literally do that.
Yeah.
Like in this movie. There's gonna be a few of these things.
Yeah.
Where it's like ideas that were stolen from better things, but just injected into this movie. And I'm gonna point them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. And so they all meet back up at the gold mine, and they're all like, things are weird. We're different. We're like superheroes. And this turns into another kind of Spider-Man scene where they all jump over this like big gap between like two rocks.
Yeah. So this part of the movie, it's very much like they're discovering their power.
Yeah.
And it is like it's like a Spider-Man, but if there was 5 of them,
yeah,
it's almost like Chronicle.
Yeah. So yeah, just a side point. So at this point, I'm like, okay, every historically underrepresented group is represented in this Power Rangers, which is like great, here for it. But it's just like very, you can tell they were like, okay, let's get one of everything in this movie. And so then at this point, I had said to you, I was like, oh, we got to find out who's the person who's a part of the LGBTQ community, because it's got to be one of them. And like later we find out it's Trini.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's so weird, these movies where like, yes, I'm all for diversity, I'm all for representation, but when it's done so like,
hey, here's the diversity.
Like we checked the box. We got this. We got this. We got this.
Yeah.
I like it makes me feel so cringe.
Yeah, this was the first like openly gay superhero character on the big screen.
Yeah.
I guess ever.
Well, that's great.
But the fact that it was this, it's like we deserved better.
The LGBTQ community deserves so much better.
Yeah.
In cinema all around.
And it's like Trini's character the whole time is just like,
you don't know anything about her.
You don't know anything about her, yeah.
It's like you
don't really come to learn all that much other than like she likes girls. And it's like, okay, sure.
But even that was just such a like, random thing she said, and then you forget all about it. Like,
And it's like, boom. Milestone in cinema history.
It's literally a check mark.
Yeah.
That's what it feels, and I hate that. I hate feeling like an identity is a check mark in a movie.
Yeah.
Like that sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I also thought it was just funny. I was like, oh, I see what they're doing here. Let's wait for the next thing to drop, and it did. But yeah. So, anyways, going back to the movie, they basically fall. So Billy, after they all jump over this rock, this like big cliff, Jason falls down the cliff, and they're like, Billy falls down the cliff, and they're like, no, he's dead. And he's like, hey, everyone jump down here, there's water. So they're like, okay, and they all jump. And then Billy is like, I think something's down here. So he swims down, and it ends up like, as he swims down, he reaches the surface of the water, which is a weird thing, which like takes him into Zordon's lair, I guess is what it's.
The command center.
Yes. So they all make it to the command center.
Yeah, it's like there's no reason that they should have been there at that spot.
Yeah.
To have gone into that water off that cliff.
Yeah.
To find the command center.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's just like, okay, if you really want to look at it and be like, and speculate, how did that happen? I think the whole point, and it's dumb. I'll just open with that. It's dumb. It's a dumb reason. But I think like the whole like power coins, like finding them, like it's all supposed to be like a fated thing. Like, oh, it was gonna happen because of the power of the morphing grid. I don't know.
Just sounds so ridiculous.
I mean, it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's dumb and campy, but this movie's not campy.
It's not.
It's just dumb.
Yeah.
We'll get into that
later. So they make it to this command center, and they meet Alpha 5, who's voiced by Bill Hader, and they meet Zordon. And basically, this is when they begin their training as Power Rangers.
Yeah.
They get the backstory.
Zordon is like a screen.
Yeah. It's like one of those, you know that like game where you put your hand through it? Not a game, but like
it's like a children's toy.
Yeah, and you put your hand through it, and it leaves the
metal
imprint.
Pins, and you push your hand into it, and it like the pins all come out in the shape of your hand.
That's exactly what he is.
With Bryan Cranston's face.
Yes. So they get the backstory. They know Rita's coming back. By the way, before Jason's dad found Rita when he was out sailing,
fishing.
Fishing.
He's a fisherman.
Found Rita. So we know Rita's here, and she's about to take over and do some bad things. So they need to train to become strong Power Rangers, but they can't morph into their Power Rangers gear, because they need to be vulnerable and like become one together.
They need to bond with each other.
Become a team.
They can't just morph.
Yeah.
They can't just do that. They have to be in unison.
Yes. So
I just want to quickly point out them becoming Power Rangers and Rita coming back are two completely separate events that just happen to line up perfectly with each other. It's not like we unleashed the power coins, and because the power coins are now free, it like surged something, and now Rita's been like brought back to life. No, it's just like
you stumbled upon it, and then she happened to be here.
Yeah, and she happened to be like fished out of the water, and it's like, okay.
I don't know. Again, nothing in this movie makes sense. So they need to become a team, which inevitably leads to this scene where they're sitting around a campfire at the gold mines, because that's their new hangout spot. And they're sharing a little bit about their backstories, their personal lives. And that's where we learn Trini is gay. We learn Zach's mom is sick. We learn basically what's going on with...
Does that all happen then? I mean,
Zach's the first person to share. And then,
I mean, at this point, they have been training for a while.
Yeah, they've been training.
I feel like we just skipped over maybe 20 minutes of training, but like whatever.
We didn't need to describe it. We know that I said they trained, and that's what they did. There didn't need to be any more discussion. So now we're like learning about everybody. But the funniest part of this scene is Trini's sharing her feelings and everything, which is like great. And after she's like, so are we like Power Rangers?
Yeah. It's like everything is super serious. They're all sharing like about themselves. And it's like they're really revealing themselves to each other.
Yeah.
And they're all just like thinking about it. And they're like, wow, we're like bonding. And Trini's, she's just like,
are we Power Rangers?
She's like, it's like, she's like, I don't even know what I am. Like, are we Power Rangers or...
It's so funny because this movie they're being so serious.
Yeah.
They're taking everything so seriously, and what they're saying is absolutely ridiculous. So the fact that you have these like ridiculous lines and this just ridiculous plot being paired on top of the tone is so like dramatic.
It's like a dark, gritty movie.
And it's...
you have to keep in mind, it's like in 2017... a lot of things like that are ridiculous and campy, like Batman, at this point have been adapted into become something more serious. So like the Christopher Nolan Batman movies are like really dark and gritty, and I think those movies are really kind of what kicked off this whole like wave of like, let's make everything dark and gritty. Meanwhile, Marvel's doing its own thing, and this movie would have really benefited from more of like a Marvel approach of like play up the fun of the premise.
Yeah. And
this movie went full, you have to take this 100% seriously.
That's the thing. Like Power Rangers would never be dark and gritty. Like that's just not what it is. The show was like is ridiculous. The old movie,
it's fun
ridiculous.
And campy,
like that's what
it's stupid.
Exactly, that's what it's supposed to be.
And
like,
it's fun because it's campy.
Yeah, like when you talk about Batman, it's like, well, Batman comics are meant to be that dark, gritty kind of feeling, and so it makes sense to translate that into the movies.
But I mean, Batman wasn't always.
It wasn't always
serious.
But when it wasn't serious, that made it weird because it's like, well, that's not Batman. Batman's supposed to be serious, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like for something that was never meant to be this serious, it's supposed to be just like fun. Who thought in their right mind this would be successful?
It's really funny because there are like Power Rangers comic books that have come out over the last few years, and they kind of like expand on the lore of the original Power Rangers show, and kind of like Power Rangers at large, but it really focuses on like the original Power Rangers, and it plays it out in a more serious way, but it doesn't avoid like what everything looks like and the setup of everything, and it's like it is ridiculous and campy and fun, but it keeps that setting, and then also has like some legitimate drama between the characters, and it is well written. It's actually like pretty good, but this just completely ignores like what makes Power Rangers fun, and makes it all serious. And
and it sucks.
Generic and formulaic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks so bad.
I feel like there's like a whole group of diehard Power Rangers fans that are gonna come for us.
Be my guest. I mean,
be nice. Be nice to us. We'll be nice to you. I mean, critically, really, like, I was a huge Power Rangers fan as a kid, and I was very much looking forward to this movie. I mean, when the first teaser trailer came out, which apparently got 150 million views on YouTube in the first 2 days.
Yeah.
And I remember that trailer. I was stoked. I posted it on Facebook.
I mean,
that's how excited I was for this movie.
Yeah. When we watch, what is it, Mighty
Morphin
Power Rangers, I loved that.
Yeah.
And there was also like a martial arts aspect to it. Like, it felt like a good movie. I don't know, it was just good. I liked it.
Yeah.
And so to like, it's not like I was coming into this movie being like I mean, I kind of was, but like, you know, I was like, I respect what Power Rangers is, and like, I totally get it. I love it. And then seeing this, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
This ruins it.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't ruin it because it's still nostalgic, but
I was really looking forward to a dark and gritty take on Power Rangers. Not gonna lie.
Really?
And when the first time I watched this, I was like, you know, it wasn't great, but I enjoyed it. I really came at it with like these rose-colored glasses on because I just wanted to like it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because watching it now, it's like I forgot what the movie was. I remembered like, oh yeah, they morph and they like learn how to become friends, and I'm like, I'm looking forward to watching this. Like, I was really looking forward to watching this yesterday, and very quickly I was like, whoa, I don't remember it being this bad. And it's like now suddenly I can actually view it in a critical way because I didn't have all this excitement of just like, no matter what it's like, I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
And that's how I came at it originally.
Yeah.
And now that I can really look at it years later, it is bad. I mean, it's really not good at all.
Yeah.
There are some things that they kind of do well. And then for every good decision, there's like at least 5 to 10 bad decisions.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's rough. I'm going to keep things really short from here on as to like what happens.
Oh, okay, real quick, I wanted to point out them finding the command center, and it's like this underground kind of like, you know, metallic area that serves them and helps them and does all kinds of things for them that they can train at and stuff. That to me was straight up like the Fortress of Solitude in Man of Steel. So there's another one. They got the Next Day Spider-Mans, they got the Chronicle, and now they've got Man of Steel. What else are they going to steal from? There is more.
So to keep things brief, because I am getting kind of hungry.
Yeah.
Basically, Rita is wreaking havoc. She threatens Trini in Trini's own home. Trini goes to the Power Rangers and is like, yo, Rita came to me and like, this is bad stuff. Rita finds them all and kills Billy because Rita's whole point is she's looking for this crystal, and
Zeo crystal.
Yes, and with this crystal she has the power to like destroy planets and things like that.
Yeah, she's a very one-dimensional villain.
Yeah, and so that's what she wants. She wants this power, and Billy had figured out where it was. It is in a Krispy Kreme. Which, like, they mentioned Krispy Kreme at least 1 million times.
Yeah, I wanted to look up to see if there was, like, a figure for, like, how much Krispy Kreme must have paid for that advertising.
Which is so random. When have you seen a Krispy Kreme advertisement? Never.
It was really weird.
It's so strange. But, yeah, and so she kills Billy. They're like, no, he's dead. They bring him to the underground compound thing. And Zordon saves him. And after this traumatic event, they have become so close that they can now morph into Power Rangers and take on Rita, which is what they do. And no wonder they are successful. So that is literally the movie. They beat Rita and they're cool Power Rangers.
At one point, Rita does leap towards them, and they're in the Megazord. because all of their Zords, which are, did we mention the Zords yet?
No.
So in Power Rangers, the Zords are these like big machines that take the form of animals. And in this movie, they explain it as like the Zords change into the form of the strongest being, the strongest creatures on the planet. So that's why all of their Zords are like dinosaurs, because historically dinosaurs were like the most, ferocious creatures on the planet.
Yeah.
So yeah, all their Zords come together and they're in the Megazord and they defeat Goldar, which is the big gold monster. Yeah. And Rita is like, "Rah, you'll never stop me." She leaps at them and they just like backhand her.
He
slaps her. And she goes flying into space.
Yeah.
And
ridiculous.
Billy, again to Jason, is like, "Did you just slap her?" And Jason goes, "I did. Weird, right?" Just like he did at the beginning of the movie when he slapped the bully.
Dumb.
Super dumb.
One thing I want to mention is when they come out in their Zords or whatever, it literally is the old school "Go Go Power Rangers" song.
For 3-4 seconds.
Yes. And it's so horrible.
It tonally does not fit in with the rest of the movie.
It does not. I was like, why are they trying to put this like old, nostalgic, very upbeat, woo, like fun kind of song to something that they're trying to make serious? It's like they're not understanding what kind of tone they're
so
trying
I
to give.
actually did read that Brian Tyler, the composer for the movie, he did create like a rendition of the original theme song, but like in the style of the rest of the score for that part, and the studio opted instead for the old corny campy one, which is great, but it should have been that the whole time. And suddenly it's like now they just like injected this one little quick piece of nostalgia.
It's like as if they had to cover up something that was in it, and they're like, just paste it on top of this scene, it'll be fine. Like, and it's weird.
And the first time they morph, there's this shot where they are walking down a hallway, and it's like slowly revealing all of them in their Ranger suits.
Yeah.
Which I thought was stolen straight out of Guardians of the Galaxy.
I was like, Monsters Inc.
Even maybe
you know when they come into the scare floor?
I know exactly what you're talking about. They all fall over. No, but in Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a very similar shot. I'm like, it feels like it is just ripping off that. And
I mean, I feel like that's like a thing that happens in a lot of movies. I'm sure it happened before Guardians.
It's a trope. I guess my point is that this movie's script is just full of tropes that are done better in other things.
Yeah.
And like there's a part where Jason's dad, like Jason crashes his car at the beginning of the movie, and that's like part of why he's in all this trouble. And Jason's dad like gives him his car to like, he's like, "I'll let you decide if you want to fix this for yourself," which he does not. Like, he does not spend any amount of time after that fixing the car. But it's like that is put in there to be like, oh, he's going to fix the car and he's going to fix himself. And you know what movie that happens in?
Yeah.
A Walk to Remember. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. The main character in that movie does something bad, crashes his car, and then he learns how to be a good person through the process of like, has a relationship and stuff. But he also like fixes his car. And it's the same thing. Yeah. So there's another one. And then like the Megazords. So when the Zords finally combine to become the Megazord, which was always one of the coolest things about Power Rangers, in this movie, when they finally combine,
it makes no sense.
It makes no sense. You can't tell what's going on because there's just a bunch of fire everywhere. They like fall into lava and then they combine, and you can't tell what's going on because they covered it up. And
I feel like it wasn't in the budget for us to transform this.
No, like it had to have not been.
Yeah.
And this whole movie is just done in the most low budget way.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're gonna be serious and dark and not lean into the camp, at least
your effects together.
At least get the effects together. Go big budget, make it big and fun. And they didn't even have that.
Yeah. This movie just felt pointless. I didn't learn anything about the characters. I feel nothing for any of the characters. Everything was absolutely ridiculous, but had this like very serious tone to try and make me think that it was serious, but it just wasn't. And it just like none of it makes sense.
And like, and when Billy dies, before they bring him back to life, through the most no nonsense, the total nonsense way possible. When Billy dies and they're bringing him back to the command center, which is like supposed to be a really emotional part, and it kind of is. Like, that's one of the good parts, like how they all react to like Billy being straight up dead. That's, I think, one of the few good parts of the movie. But when they're all taking him there, cover of Stand By Me is playing. So
I forgot about that.
There's another one.
Oh my gosh, it doesn't make any sense. They just threw stuff together and was like, let's see if this works. Let's hope it works.
Oh, I also forgot them meeting at detention, Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Breakfast Club. Yeah, it was, I did not enjoy it. And it wasn't like, I love a good bad movie that's like fun to watch because it is bad.
Yeah.
This was not fun to watch. Like, I was not having fun. And I wrote in my notes, I was like, low key, I'd rather watch In Bruges again.
Wow.
than sit through this movie.
No, I'll admit, like, of all the movies that I've assigned, this was by far the most boring one.
Yeah.
And it really pains me to say that because I love watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. Like, that is such a fun movie.
It's so fun.
And, like, it's dumb. But like,
it's great.
It's a
but
great
you don't
time.
expect it to be,
serious. Like, you know what you're in for.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're gonna get.
This, you're like expecting it to be this like either fun or like serious thing.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't succeed at being anything.
Yeah.
Gosh. And then of course they do like a post-credits scene where it's like Tommy Oliver, which in the show Tommy Oliver is the 6th Ranger that joins after like 20 episodes, and he's the Green Ranger, and he's like the coolest one.
Yeah.
So they're like setting it up for a sequel, and it's like it costs them no money to shoot that, because this whole movie is just like not trying to spend any money. So yeah, I wrote down the part where Alpha 5 sees the kids for the first time. I don't know if you remember this line where he says, he's like looking at their power coins, and he's like, different colors, different kids, different colored kids.
Yes,
it's like,
yes. I was like, oh no, take it out, take it out. What the heck?
And like the Zord designs in this movie, you can't tell what they are. Like, you look at them and you're like, I don't know what that is. Because they take these weird shapes, and
you don't know what anything is the whole movie because you don't understand what's happening, like what you're seeing. Yeah, and it's like what you're seeing is not aligning with like what you were expecting to happen.
And it's like, it feels like they were trying to kind of lean into like a big budget Transformers battle at the end.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even really get that right. And it's like part of what makes watching Transformers fun is watching the cars transform into the detail of and becoming this like humanoid robot. And they don't even give you like a fun transformation sequence when they all combine into the Megazord, because the Megazord is just like it's just a guy with like a bunch of details all over him. Mm-hmm. But it's just a standing guy. Mm-hmm. I did read in the trivia that because the Zords take on the most powerful beings on the planet or whatever, that becoming the Megazord was supposed to be a reflection of Goldar, like a replica of Goldar, because now he's the strongest thing on the planet. But
I didn't get that.
No, it's dumb. It just wasn't good. And like when you look at the Megazord in the original show, it's like it's cool, it's fun, it's a toy, Yeah. And you can look at it and say, oh, that's where the Mastodon is, that's where the saber-toothed tiger is, that's where the T-Rex is. And this, you look at it and you're like, I don't know how any of those...
It's just a man.
I don't know how those things became a man.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Nope.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
No, this one, I'm sorry, babe. It was not it.
It was not. It was not. And that's what's so disappointing. And I was really hoping that it would be.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a glass shattering moment.
Yeah.
Like 10, 15 minutes into the movie, I was like, oh no.
I fell asleep.
This is bad.
I fell asleep, missed the whole ending, and we had to watch it this morning.
And
I was like,
Elizabeth Banks is in it. Bill Hader's in it. Bryan Cranston's in it.
And their performances are bad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Bill Hader did a good job with the voice, I guess.
The script is bad. And it's like the movie's bad because it's bland.
Yeah.
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 And also there's a lot of like, so this movie was directed by Dean Israelite. And his previous credit before this was Project Almanac, which was like a low budget movie, kind of felt like Chronicle. And it was about like kids doing some time travel stuff. They like get a time machine and they learn how to use that. And I kind of enjoyed that movie. But I mean, now watching this movie and being like, oh, I thought I enjoyed this and I don't. Maybe who knows if I rewatch Project Almanac. But I guess my point here and what I'm trying to say is like he had experience directing Project Almanac, and I kind of get the sense that he's kind of like fresh talent, and he hasn't really had the chance to make this like big budget movie. And Power Rangers is like the biggest property he's being given the keys to, but they also gave him like the same amount of budget that he's used to, maybe a little bit more of a budget. But I think this movie just needed a bigger budget to be spent on literally everything.
Yeah.
Like all the talent, but like get a more experienced director, a more experienced writer, more like just more time put into the visual effects.
Yeah.
Better actors.
I don't necessarily think the actors are what broke it.
Yeah.
I really think it's the script and like the writing and the effects, I think, are the main things that really just made this fall apart. Because like the thing is like, it makes me think of that YouTube channel you watch where he like does the pitch meetings. Yeah. And in a lot of those pitch meetings, it's like, okay, how did we get this? And he's like, don't ask too many questions. And it's like, that's this whole movie. It's like it's jumping from thing to thing to thing, and there's no clarity into like how all of this is transpiring. It's like it needs to be way more fleshed out. Yeah. The tone needs to be adjusted.
It just feels like a very quick team up movie. Yes. And it felt like a trailer that never ended. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. And like Guardians of the Galaxy, so the thing is, these like big team movies, like the Avengers, you could be like, yeah, they had like 5 movies to build that up, to make that satisfying. But Guardians of the Galaxy does it in one movie. Yeah. And adds a lot of heart, and that's a fantastic movie. And this just like wanted to be that, but just like did not. I think there's a way to make a good Power Rangers movie. And I think now that this has been made, we now have a blueprint for what not to do. Yeah. Like, I feel like because this movie exists, whatever next big screen adaptation of Power Rangers gets done, I think will probably end up becoming more faithful to the original source material and, like, done in a big, fun, campy way because they realized that this approach did not work. Yeah. At least that's what I'm hopeful for, but we'll see what actually happens.
You think they'll make another adaptation?
They're already planning to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I believe Hasbro. So, okay. Quick history lesson on Power Rangers. And this will explain why it's called Saban's Power Rangers. So Haim Saban is this man who owns his own company. And when Power Rangers first went on the air in the U.S., that was because he found this show in Japan called Super Sentai, which was like, this team of teenagers that get together and get these suits and these Megazords, yada yada. Basically, he gets like the rights to, and I'm gonna muddy this up, so it's not 100% correct, but the basic gist is that he gets the rights to use this Super Sentai series footage and then like gets American actors and films this like American show with these teenagers and all that. But then every time they morph, they just reused footage from the Super Sentai series. And there are some scenes that are like original, like they filmed it in America with like their own suits and stuff. And you can tell, like when you look at the Green Ranger scenes, if his like gold chest plate is like, if it looks more like detailed, it's like, okay, that was from the Japan version. But if it looks like foamy, then that's the American filming that they did. Anyway, so yeah, Saban basically owned the rights to Power Rangers for a very long time, for like I want to say 25 years, and then up until this movie getting made. And then I think it wasn't until like 2018 or 2019 that they sold the license to Hasbro. I can't confirm that 100%. I can't quite remember. But I do recall that the ownership of Power Rangers did switch hands. And it was to one of these big toy companies that probably... It probably is Hasbro, but I don't know for sure. I didn't look that one up leading into this. If you're curious, go Google it yourself. But it's like, one of the companies that owns Transformers. And once that like change of ownership happened, they did say that they wanted to like reboot it again. They're probably not in a rush to do it, but yeah. So it will happen eventually. I think maybe. But I think, we need some time to kind of wash this out,
That's so funny.
Yeah. And what's really, like, this movie had that fruit by the foot advertising, like when you go to the grocery store and you see, like, the Danimals cups or, like, the Yoplait or whatever, and it's got the Power Rangers on it. Like, this movie had that.
I mean, I remember when this came out, even though I had no intentions of watching it because I never was really a Power Rangers fan, like, the only Power Rangers I was exposed to was like going to my cousin's house who are all boys and they had Power Rangers stuff and they'd be like, here's the yellow mask or whatever. And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember this movie coming out and being like, maybe that's pretty good. Maybe it's pretty cool. I don't know. I'll never see it unless someone's like, let's watch this. But
yeah. All right, I'll throw out some other fun facts real quick. They wanted all the Power Rangers to have weapons, but only Jason ends up having a weapon in the final movie. They supposedly cut it out for runtime because this is like a 2 hour and 4 minute movie. It's a really long movie
of nothing.
Yeah.
Like what?
And I thought that was kind of dumb that they would cut out the weapons because the whole movie is dedicated to leading up to this moment where they finally morph and get into this final sequence. And
it ended with a slap.
If that is like if that is what your whole movie is building towards, throw everything at that sequence.
Yeah.
And so for them to not put that in, I think was a missed opportunity. All right, the reason Bryan Cranston is in this movie, well, I don't know if it's quite the reason that he's in this movie, but Bryan Cranston, surprisingly enough, has a history with Power Rangers. So if you look at his IMDb page, his first credit, I didn't actually double check this leading into this. I'm pulling this from memory, but I'm like pretty dang confident about this. At least it's one of his first IMDb credits, is doing the voices for some of the villains on the original Power Rangers show. And I think, if I recall correctly, again, I might be wrong here, so don't quote me on this. He worked for like the sound department or something. Like he did something on the crew, and they needed a voice for one of the characters, and he offered to do it. And so he does that for a few of the villain characters, because the villain characters are just like, a guy in a big suit of some kind of creature, that was filmed in Japan. So all they have to do is just voice over it in English. So that's like one of his first acting credits.
Wow. To go from that to Breaking Bad, wild.
Yeah. And then Zordon.
That's a setback.
You notice that Billy's last name in this movie is Cranston, and you're like, oh, is it because of like Bryan Cranston? So I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think there's kind of conflicting information on this. So I don't even need to spend time on this. It's like such a small detail, but it's like I believe it was that Billy was named after Bryan Cranston. But also I read a fact that like Saban had a pitch for like a different show like 10 years prior where he used the name Billy Cranston for one of the characters. So maybe not. I don't know.
Gotcha. Billy's the only character that I like cared about.
Yeah,
He's such a sweet person.
That's a general consensus.
Yeah. And he was funny. He was so funny.
I just want to also throw this out there. There's a lot of weirdly angled shots in this movie. Needlessly angled shots, I should say.
That, and there's a lot of first person like viewpoints.
Yeah,
and
POV
it's like
shots.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah, the screenplay, I wrote this down. The screenplay feels like an AI like wrote a Power Rangers movie.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
But that's just to speak to like how bland it is.
Yeah.
All right. So they had a linguist create this Eltar language.
There was a different language in this movie?
Yeah, so remember Bill Hader, Bryan Cranston, and Elizabeth Banks at different points of this movie speak this Eltar language, and they had a linguist come up with it. So supposedly, the fact that I read was that Bill Hader and Bryan Cranston struggled with it, and Elizabeth Banks became fluent in it, which I thought was pretty weird. Speaking of Elizabeth Banks, I thought it was interesting that she was in this movie, and
is she like executive producer or something?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't get any facts like that. She did say like her green contacts practically blinded her while she was filming, and that the staff that she had to hold was like surprisingly heavy. Like she thought it was going to break her arm because it was so heavy, which just speaks to like it's a low budget movie. But supposedly Iggy Azalea was originally offered the role of Rita.
What?
And I had to look this one up. I had to look up like Power Rangers Iggy Azalea.
They're
and
pulling
Iggy
our
Azalea
legs.
Iggy Azalea did an interview with Nick Cannon where he was asking her if she wanted to do some acting. She's like, I'm just kind of overwhelmed by it. I have been offered roles before. And he's like what? And she was like, well, like I was offered a villain role to play the villain in the Power Rangers movie, but she just like they wanted me to go to Vancouver, and it was going to be like a whole movie's length of time, and so I was just overwhelmed by it, and I didn't want to go for it. So we could have had Iggy Azalea as Rita Repulsa in this movie, but honestly, we got Elizabeth Banks instead.
Having Iggy Azalea would have been so much more entertaining. I would have been like, what am I viewing?
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun.
What? Where even is she nowadays? She just disappeared.
I also wrote down that Austin Butler was in the running to play Jason.
Oh, I bet he's so glad he got out of that.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Austin Butler recently played Elvis in Elvis.
Yeah.
And he did a great job.
I really like Austin Butler.
Yeah.
He's been around for a minute.
Could have been a completely different career trajectory. Yep. And that's about everything I have in this movie. I will say I noted down in the trivia that Jason David Frank, R.I.P., recently passed away at the end of last year, tragically, and he played the original Green Ranger, the original Tommy Oliver character. I read that at the premiere of the movie, he was ejected from the theater because he was trying to film his own cameo. He has a cameo in this movie. He was trying to record it on his phone, and they kicked him out of the theater for it. I'm like, that kind of seems like a Jason David Frank thing to do. Anyway, yeah, I mean, R.I.P. to a legend. Anyway, yeah, and that's everything I had. Hopefully never watch this movie again, and hopefully the next movie that they choose to make is better, because I think they can do better.
They for sure can do better. feel like I'm so tainted by this movie, though. I'm gonna be like, I don't want to watch that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, they've done some really interesting stuff with this like new comic book series. I mean, it's been around for a while now. There have been some good Power Rangers comic books. I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't even need to make a live action big budget movie because
who would it be for?
I don't know.
Like, that's the thing. Who's it for? Is it for the kids? Is it for adults who grew up with Power Rangers?
Yeah, it's weird because I looked at this movie and I was like, this would have been better as a show. But then I'm like, but Power Rangers is a show. Mm-hmm. So why do we need this movie?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'd like to see it done well in a movie form that like audiences can go to and enjoy. But I'm also, just not sure that it's adaptable in that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, anyway.
Bummer.
Yeah. All right, we should hurry it up.
Wrap it up.
This is proving to be one of our longest episodes.
Oh, wow. I mean, part of that was our pee break.
Oh, that's true.
All right.
If you did not notice, halfway through this episode, we took a break. There's going to be a cut.
I exposed us. Let's get into our swap.
Our assignments. All right.
You go first. I went first last time.
Oh, okay. There's a movie that I wanted to give you, but I think I'm going to give that to you around Valentine's.
Okay.
Or wait, was there a movie actually that I said that I wanted to give you before Valentine's?
I think Oh, before? You had a Valentine's assignment for me, but I don't remember what it was.
Okay. Because I was just checking my notes and I saw that movie written there, and I was like, oh, I wanted to give that this week, but I guess I won't, and I'll save it for Valentine's. All right, I'm thinking I'm gonna give you this movie called The Warriors.
Never heard of it.
It was released in the 70s. Takes place in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just consulting my list, and I'm like, yeah, you know what, let's go for that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of giving you something else, but then I realized that the lead actor of that something else is also the lead actor in the thing I wanted to give you for Valentine's Day. So I'm like, we can't have too much of that guy. So
that's funny.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with The Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. So I want to give you a show because it can be our morning watch. And I think it will balance out. We're watching The Last of Us now, so I think it'll balance out the spookiness of The Last of Us.
Well, that's like a weekly thing, though.
That's true. That's not something we're binging.
Right.
Anyway, I want to give you the show Easy, which is a Netflix show, and it's like an anthology series. So every episode's like they're not connected.
Yeah.
And it's about just like relationships, like people's relationships, and they all live in Chicago. A lot of at first I was thinking of just giving you season 2, but some of those characters are like recurring. So
I see.
Yeah, so season 1 is.
All right, we got 2 completely different things for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So it'll be next week is The Warriors and Easy.
Easy.
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.